People who had abstinence-only sex education. What was the most outrageous or untrue thing you were told? My church-based sex ed claimed that foreplay involved things like reciting poetry to one another or playing the violin together. I guess their plan was for us to be so bad at foreplay we'd never have sex. You know what? Reading a heartfelt poem to each other and reciting a passionate violin duet before absolutely dicking down sounds like a genuinely great time. Hugging a boy will get you pregnant. Edit. Oh no, someone gave me the hugging award. Guess I'm pregnant. So I'm Irish and Catholic. Growing up in Dublin we had church-sanctioned sex education. Some of the highlights. All penises are the same size when erect. We were 14 and this was hilarious to us. Being gay is just a phase. No method of birth control is reliable, including oral sex and body rubbing. This woman once compared a teenage girl who's had premarital sex as chewed up bubble gum. She then switched the comparison to a pair of worn-out shoes. Shit you not. That every time a girl, had sex I was giving away a part of my soul. So each sex partner whittled away bits of my soul. If I had sex before marriage my god-given husband would only get a tiny scrap instead of a full half, and thus wouldn't be able to love me as much as he would if I'd waited. Honestly it's pretty confusing. This was taught in my Christian private school. Till premarital sex is equivalent to a horcrux, according to Christianity. I can't think of anything crazy, but I think it's because we generally weren't told much at all. They tried to scare us. Condoms aren't effective. Chances are super high you'll get an STD or get pregnant. Watch this horrific slideshow of worst case scenario STDs, and then watch this video of crying women who regret the abortion they got after getting pregnant from their first sexual encounter. But most topics were just vaguely circled. Some super uncomfortable young youth pastor came and educated us, but he would only refer to genitalia as the underwear zone. We were able to write questions on a slip of paper to be answered anonymously, but he only read about 10% of them and deemed the rest inappropriate. Shocker, we had a lot of teenage pregnancies. Edit. Also, to clarify, this was a public school with no religious affiliation. But it was Indiana, so. We had a teacher unwrap a piece of candy and pass it around the room. The last person was asked if they would eat the candy after everyone had touched it. This was meant to symbolize purity or some shit, but was foiled when my friend ate the candy mayo. Edit. Just to answer a few extra questions. I believe it was a Jolly Rancher which made it even funnier. This was definitely well before COVID. I don't believe he got in trouble, but the teacher definitely had to play it off with the well that's not the point. But, answer, lol. Condoms have microscopic holes and don't actually prevent pregnancy and definitely will not stop you from getting AIDS, because the virus is so small it will magically go through the latex. Where a lady said she could tell if a girl was a virgin just by looking into her eyes. The implication was that premarital sex causes your spirit to die, so that you become just a shell with nothing to offer. Edit to add, I'm sure you can guess that she didn't say the same applied for the boys, as if teenage girls are the only ones to blame for anyone having premarital sex. This is probably pretty tame, but sophomore year our teacher told us using multiple condoms at a time increases its effectiveness. I then asked my mom the same thing, and her whole job is to teach safe sex to youth. Spoiler alert, do not layer condoms. It sounds good in practice, but you're actually weakening the condoms and wasting them. Utah's sex ed policy was slash as shit. I was given a diagram of the female anatomy in which the clitoris had been erased, as in someone went into manuscript paint and whited it out on a line drawing of the exterior of the vulva. The urethra, vagina, labia, anus were labeled, and then at the top of the labia, it was whited out. Condoms don't always work, so it's better to not use them. If you ejaculate on a girl, yes, she will get pregnant, regardless of if you had sex or not. Boys get so horny sometimes they can't control themselves. So girls, it's up to you to remove temptation for the boys. Birth control pills disrupt a girl's hormones so badly she will become barren. went to public school and had real sex ed, but had a history teacher who told us that sex before marriage is a sin because every time you have sex you get pregnant, and if a kid is born outside of wedlock they are going to hell, and we will also go to hell for damning the baby's soul before it's even born. She said condoms and any other birth control is an insult to God and a way for atheists to try and outsmart him. She didn't work there after that year. Wonder why. My girlfriend's sex ed program in middle school included a wedding dress that they splattered with red paint. Opposite story. I went to a Catholic high school. My health teacher was a progressive. So she closed the door and said, listen, okay, sure, masturbation is a sin, or whatever, but it's actually fine. You gotta, clean out the pipes once in a while. Now if your friends ask you to go to the movies and your answer is sorry, gotta stay home and jerk off, probably step it back a bit. Had a sister teach sex ed in a Catholic elementary school. She flat out gave correct names, body parts and their functions. In 4th grade she also explained exactly how to use a tampon. That the actual vagina opening is as small as the tip of a pencil. I also never knew women didn't pee from their vaginas until I was 16. I'm 19 now and learned more from shit posts on the internet than I ever had in school. The amount of people who seemed to not know the latter is astonishing. Women have urethras and that's where they pee from. No, you won't accidentally do it with the urethra. My friend, who is female, didn't know that you don't pee from your vagina until she was 16. She said something about having to pee, but not having an extra tampon, so she couldn't take hers out, and her cousin was like, you don't have to take your tampon out to pee, it's a different hole. Edit, my husband is now mad because I have more karma than him, hahaha. The teacher said that you can only really love one sexual partner, and that's why it's so important that your spouse be your first and only partner. One of my classmates raised her hand and said, my mom died when I was a baby and my dad's been married to my stepmom for 10 years. Does that mean he only loves one of them? The teacher just looked uncomfortable and moved on to how premarital sex causes depression. I was convinced that saliva was involved in the baby making process. Not that you'd kiss someone and then boom pregnant, but that someone's saliva over time would make their baby look like you. The more saliva, the stronger the resemblance. Long story short, I spit in my cousin's drinks for a solid 2 months because I wanted her baby, she was pregnant at the time, to look like me, who was 8. This was about 25 years ago, and also I'm a woman. That's how absolutely terrible my sex education was.